In a quiet, unremarkable town, a true incident occurred that baffled both the police and the community for many years, without any final explanation to this day. In the late 1990s, there was a man in his mid-30s living a very ordinary life. He worked during the day in a small office and returned to his modest apartment in the evening, spending most of his time reading or taking walks around the neighborhood. He was known among his neighbors for being quiet and reserved, and he had no enemies or conflicts with anyone. Everything about his life was so ordinary that any disappearance seemed impossible. One night, the man went out for a short walk, as he often did. He only took his keys and wallet with him, and when he said goodbye to a neighbor, his voice showed no hint of worry. Nothing suggested that this night would be different from any other. The streets were almost empty. The faint light from street lamps cast long shadows across the sidewalks, and the air was slightly chilly. At first, everything seemed normal, but soon he noticed something unusual. A subtle movement from the distance, a shadow slipping between the buildings, though he could not determine what it was. Minutes later, he felt uneasy, as if someone was watching him from afar. He tried to ignore it and continued walking, but the sense of being followed grew stronger with every step. There was no other sound, only the echo of his own footsteps on the damp pavement and the shifting shadows from the streetlights. In a corner of the street, he saw something move quickly among the shadows. At that moment, he stopped to look, but there was no one there. Still, the feeling of being watched did not vanish. It intensified. When he decided to return home, the streets appeared slightly different, as if the neighborhood itself had changed. Doors he normally passed looked darker, windows completely darkened, almost as if the buildings were silently observing him. There was no car or person on the street, yet he could not shake the feeling that he was not alone. The following morning, the man did not return home. Initially, people assumed he might have left voluntarily or decided to be away for a while. But as hours passed, concern grew. His phone was off, he did not show up for work, and his apartment remained untouched. Everything normal, yet unsettling, leaving no sign of foul play, no note, and no explanation. The police were notified and launched an official investigation. His apartment was thoroughly searched, and everything was neat and orderly. No signs of forced entry, no struggle, no blood. Everything was entirely normal, which made the case even more mysterious. CCTV footage from the area showed the man walking alone on the street at night, taking calm, measured steps as any ordinary person would. Then, suddenly, he vanished completely from the camera's range, without appearing on any other cameras in the vicinity, even though the area had limited exits and was well monitored. Rumors began to circulate among the neighbors. Some claimed he was kidnapped. Others suggested he disappeared voluntarily, while others believed that something inexplicable had occurred. Yet all theories clashed with one undeniable fact: there was no solid evidence to rely on. Weeks later, some of his personal belongings were found in a location far from his usual path. They were undamaged and showed no signs of struggle, as if carefully placed. This added another layer of mystery, and the case remained a topic of discussion in the community for many years. The case file stayed open with the police and was never officially closed. No body, no proof of a crime, and no one ever saw the man again. Over time, media coverage faded, but those familiar with the case know that it remains one of the most puzzling disappearances in the town's history. To this day, the question remains, how can a person vanish in an ordinary town without anyone seeing them and leaving behind no trace? Some cases remain simply true stories without answers, gripping the audience and leaving them to try to understand what happened.